So I'm here with my client, Jefferson. I just want to come out and say quite honestly and candidly that what you're involved in is something that I don't know that much about. So I would love to hear a little bit about it from you as far as like what the nature of what you're involved in is like and what the relationships are like and your feelings about monogamy, that kind of thing.
Okay, well, I was rather early and prodigious sexually. I started having sex with girls when I was 15 and boys when I was 16. And by the time I was 19, I encountered the word bisexual, like thanks to David Bowie. And I thought, well, I guess that's what I am. And had sex and group sex with a lot of my friends from high school and then into college. But then I wound up meeting a woman, falling in love, and we got married. And although we were monogamous in our marriage, and anyone would presume that I was heterosexual because of that, I still identify as bisexual whenever it came up. When our marriage ended, we were together for 15 years, and then when our marriage ended, and our marriage had become rather sexless. I didn't want the divorce, but once we were separated, I thought, well, I'm going to at least sort of get my sex life back. So I began to have sex with men, with women, and to date, and soon found myself dating a couple, and dating them led to putting together orgies. And so I've been hosting and organizing orgies for the 7 years since my marriage ended. And then a couple of years into that, I began to get involved in BDSM, which is bondage, discipline, sadomasochism. I got drawn into, I went to a Dark Odyssey, which in my blog we refer to as Sex Camp. It's an annual event. And there met some sex educators and people who were involved in BDSM and began to learn things, particularly from Lolita Wolf, who's here in the city, and took me under her wing and taught me to flog and to cane and to use single-tailed whips and tie up people. And I found that I really enjoyed that stuff and met people who enjoyed it as well. I got into BDSM through sex. I was, revisiting my sex life and restarting my sex life really after my marriage ended, and found that this was something else I could do within the sexual spectrum.
What do you think they're looking to your blog for?
Well, most of the purpose of the blog is to titillate people, to get them off, because I write it's all nonfiction erotica. So the questions that I often get, again and again, it's like, is this real? How do you make that happen? Because it seems beyond, like the average person, may dream of one day having a threesome and not know how to ever get to that point. I had a threesome this morning. I have threesomes all the time.
Really?
Yes. It's not hard for me in my life to do that because I have friends who are interested in this kind of thing.
It seems almost like sex is an art form for you. Is it?
Very, very definitely that. Very definitely that. I mean, I put a lot of creativity into it. I really enjoy making things happen. And so what frequently happens in my life is people will contact me through the blog or through friends. They have a fantasy that they'd like to have realized. And that to me is a project. And
what do those fantasies like represent? Like where do they come from?
It can come from all manner of things. Some people just, there may be something that you need an additional person or additional people or a certain set of equipment or something to pull off, so you need to have some help. But other times people, I've met them because they want to have a good sexual relationship or a good intimate relationship. For example, I was contacted a couple years ago by a woman who wanted to lose her virginity, just felt it was time.
And how old was she?
She had just turned 21. And she had a summer off from school, and so it was like, well, we're going to have a fling this summer. and we're going to try out a lot of different things, and let you lose your virginity, but also lose your other virginities and sort of get exposed to other things that you might want to try. And we had a lot of fun, and she wound up meeting her boyfriend through me.
So what about monogamy for you? Like, it sounds like you know a group of people, and like, explain to me like how that works.
Well, as far as monogamy goes, I was monogamous throughout my marriage, and I was not monogamous before my marriage, and I just sort of thought that that's what you do when you grow up. You meet somebody, you become monogamous, and you have kids, you buy a house, and monogamy turned out to be sort of celibacy, actually, abstinence. We just didn't have sex.
I think that's common.
Yeah, I think it is common, and it's looking back, I wish now that we had dealt with it. We went to therapy a number of times over this, but that we'd been able to deal with it more directly. It didn't occur to me, nor to her, to try things that I do now, because it just wasn't a part of our lives.
Do people that you know get jealous of each other, or is there competition or anything like that?
Sure. I mean, it's just normal that there would be jealousy or competition from time to time. That's why there's so much need for conversation and evaluation. It's happened a number of times that people hear that and they understand it, but still when you're in the situation,
right,
and you're like, there you are at a party and there's your boyfriend having sex with somebody else, it can hurt your feelings, and that's perfectly normal.
Yeah, I want to ask you about your role in that, because what I'm beginning to understand that's, I think, also very unusual is that you're kind of a guide, or you have a kind of an authority role in this. And I also want to know about sexual physical attraction, where that, it seems like you're open to everybody. So where does actually being attracted to somebody come in?
I'm not obliged to sleep with everybody who asks me.
Of course.
So if I meet them and see how I feel about it and how they feel about it, then it is a very interesting way to meet people, because everyone who meets me through the blog has the opportunity to know a hell of a lot about me.
So is it sometimes that you don't wind up sleeping with people that do you feel like, oh, I'm not attracted to this person?
Yeah. First, I was so excited to get sex back after my marriage that I was pretty darn promiscuous, and I was really enjoying it. But I found that as I began to realize that no one's going to take sex away from me, and I don't have to pursue it quite so vigorously.
I wonder if you're a born again sexual person. Do you think a lot of this was because of the repression and being in your marriage?
I re-entered sex at the age of 39 in New York City, after a very long relationship, and I was really conscious of that reality. I came to realize that I never actually dated in my entire life. I had sex with all my friends in high school, and if I had sex with the same girl over and again, that was my girlfriend, and she'd be my girlfriend until she moved away or something happened, and then I would sleep with another one of my friends. So the experience of sitting down at a table opposite somebody and saying, oh, you're an investment banker, what's that like? And thinking in your head, am I going to have sex with this person tonight? Am I going to fall in love with this person? Are we going to have children one day? It was all really alien. And that's one reason I started writing the blog, was I was writing stories of my dates and my sexual experiences, but also just the strangeness of dating.
I think some of this comes from how comfortable you were with your bisexuality as a teenager. Is that right?
Yeah, that was a real breakthrough for me, because I knew that I liked having sex with women because I was having sex with women, but I also had sex with boys, and particularly two. One was a straight guy, and he and I loved each other, and we were, we didn't have sex frequently enough to suit me. I always had to have him initiate it, because I was afraid of going too far. And the other was a gay boy in my high school, but sex with him frightened me a little bit, because I was like, I don't want to lead him on, because I know I'm not gay, but I know I like having sex with guys. Does this mean that I'm going to eventually be gay, or what?
I don't think there are that many truly bisexual people, do you?
Yeah, there are.
There are? I
There
mean-
certainly are.